So if you're trying to go by like the real world as a female and you're biologically born a male and you have strong features, it's very hard, and people tend to notice. They'll stop and stare at you and make like rude facial gestures and stuff. It's just ridiculous. Take therapy sessions for a while to make sure that to like basically help me to come to the realization that this is actually what I want to do. And even though I didn't need that, I already knew it from the point, like from the start, and I know I wasn't gonna change my mind about it.
This was something I was thinking about since I was in the 5th grade. Like when I was in 5th grade, I knew I wanted to be a girl. I was like, I want breasts. I want to wear bikinis. I want to be one of the WWF models. I want to look like Beyonce.
That's a testosterone blocker. That's spironolactone.
We'll call it Spiro. So what Spiro does is Spiro reduces your testosterone. It basically diminishes the manly features.
And this is the estrogen. I take 1 cc of this. This will last me about, that's about like 2 months. So every 2 months, I go back to the vitamin.
Or you can get patches, which is what I use. The patch leaves a very unattractive scar. If you look hard on my not so well shaved tummy, you can see the little arch mark right here, and that's from the patch. And I also have another one right here that's also from the estrogen patch. Thankfully, the scars don't stay there for no longer than a month. You know, slap a little cocoa butter on, you're good to go. So the two work together to reduce the testosterone as much as possible, increase the feminine features as much as possible, which include breast development, softer features, hip development.
I feel like people get on T to like, they think drastic changes are gonna happen so quickly.
It's varies from person to person. Even though you may look at somebody else and say, wow, they look great, maybe I look that way too. It's not a one-size-fits-all. Everyone comes out, you know, with their appearance differently on testosterone or even estrogen.
My insurance, I paid $10 for the first year in Providence, and since I moved to New York City, it's $15, but usually it could go up to like $100 to $200 a bottle, and this goes fast. It lasts me probably a month.
As I've had surgeries done, I didn't need it as much. I've had a hysterectomy, so that took out a lot of estrogen out of my body. Even a mastectomy takes a lot of estrogen out of your body because the chest holds mammary glands and that has a lot of estrogen. So once that was taken out, I didn't need as much because my estrogen levels lowered.
You don't realize that you're looking different because every day in the mirror you just sit in front of it and you're like, has anything changed? Has anything changed? And the more you do that, the less changes you see. And so I try to like not look in the mirror and try to seek changes and slowly have it come about without me looking for it. So I started taking pictures like every 2 weeks or so, and then I looked at it and then started realizing changes. But I think a lot of the changes came from outsiders. They looked at me and said, wow, like you look differently or you sound differently. My voice started dropping probably within the first month that I started taking tea. Facial hair didn't come in probably until about 3 months. It was just up top. I didn't have any bottom, like a beard or anything. But my upper mustache started getting a little thicker. But it's been over a year now, probably a year and 6 months, and I still don't have like a full-blown beard, and probably I won't. It comes from my genes.
I think I can tell the difference in my voice, but I'm not even sure just yet.
With the breast development comes sensitive nipples. Your nipples get really, really sensitive. Like if you brush your nipples against something, it hurts to the point where you feel like you're gonna cry.
Yeah. My chest like is really, really sore, and my nipples look ridiculous. They look hot. I think they look horrible. Like the area like gets wider and like it starts to enlarge, and so there's a lot of tenderness around that area, and the nipple itself starts to get a little bigger.
Like your clitoris starts growing like ASAP. Probably within a month it starts growing, it starts getting bigger. But that's probably the first noticeable like physical like feature I noticed was like, okay, something's changing down there.
Fat redistribution. Everywhere that you had fat as a female, it would redistribute itself where it would show in the male's body. Stomach is one of them. And it also depends on the genetics and the males in your family.
Like I used to eat like a pig and gained weight, but now I can eat like a pig and not gain so much weight. Like it burns off really fast, which is definitely a plus.
I'm gaining weight. Well, my weight is actually kind of fluctuating. Like gaining weight, then losing the weight, then gaining it again. It's like it's driving me nuts.
My appetite, I started eating a lot more. I already ate a lot, but it skyrocketed.
I definitely had an appetite. And I noticed that when it was towards shot time, I would get very lethargic.
They had offered me the T gel, which is like a gel you would place on yourself. Imagine it being lotion or like toothpaste kind of substance. But that takes longer for you to get, for anything to show. But some people prefer, a lot of people might be afraid of needles, or in some sense it's cheaper. But the thing about the gel is if you're with a partner or even if you're with families or friends, if you hug them and it rubs off on them, they get the effect. And so they said like physical contact is not really recommended when you first place it on. I guess you have to wait till it completely dries out. But I had a friend who was on gel and it took him, the changes that I had within 6 months, it probably took him up to a year.
They also have pellets that can go under the skin, and you go twice a year to get it. I'm not sure if it's available in the U.S., but the videos that I have checked out about it it's more done overseas. But it looks like it's a very painful and costly procedure.
My physical changes, they kind of happen pretty quickly. Emotionally, I guess you could say I became emotionless. Like, it's crazy. Like for example, like I just had a death in the family a couple weeks ago. And it sounds crazy, but as much as I wanted to, like I couldn't even cry for, the person that passed in my family. And I knew that was the T.
Increased depression, mood swings.
I do notice a big difference, especially my relationship too. Like being in a relationship and feeling like just not as emotionally in tune to women or the people I've dated as much as I used to be. Like I used to be, I wouldn't say clingy, but I was very affectionate. I'm not as affectionate anymore.
Crazy mood swings. Also, reduced sex drive. Like, before I started hormonal treatment, I was a sex addict, sex fiend. I always needed to bust a nut. I always was just craving sex, like guys. Biological men, we have high testosterone levels. Guy in my 20s, I want sex all the time. But since I started hormonal treatment, the sex drive is pretty much going under the bus, which is kind of a relief because you don't have that distraction of wanting to bust a nut all the time. And I'm still in the beginning phase of transitioning. So I think past a certain point, I've heard that it reaches a point where you can't even get it out, which may suck when that happens, but yeah.
I've heard some stories where trans whether they don't have insurance or they don't want to go through the whole doctor thing, or they're undocumented, which means they're afraid to go like to hospitals and kind of get medical help. They're afraid they'll be rejected, or the deportation people will be called. But I've heard that people would get like a vial or two, which is tough because it's a controlled substance, but it happens. They would get like a vial or two and sell the second vial. And then they would tell a doctor that they lost their vial, and then they would get another prescription, and it would just keep going and going.
It's very possible to get T without a doctor. Hormones in general, for male and female. You have the internet. That's a really big one, and underground parties. But that's more for what I hear about is more for women.
If you know somebody that knows somebody that knows, basically what they call the hormone lady, that you can usually get it for about, I think, $130. You get a few shots and some testosterone blockers.
It's pretty expensive, and I can see why people would ask for it. And it's a controlled substance, so it's like if you get caught selling it, it's some serious like jail time.
They'll have hormone parties where they will shoot each other up with estrogen. I'm not sure about the men. I haven't heard too much about men being included in these parties, but this is also a big way how HIV and AIDS come about as well.
Go on YouTube, and because going on YouTube gave me the hope of like finding a doctor, and also finding finding that strength and courage to actually call a doctor's office and make an appointment. Just watching a lot of YouTube video built that confidence in me, and I know that might sound little, or that might sound like an unnecessary step, but it really does help. And so I even emailed a few people on YouTube, and they've given me words of encouragement and ways I go about what to avoid, what to do, what not to do.
I have to put the audio in about the nails.
I got you.
Please excuse my nails because I'm a hardworking girl and stuff goes down at work. So.